Protect your positivity at all costs. It has come to my attention that this is something I need to pay attention to in my life. Why is protecting your positivity important? It's important because if you want to win in any domain in life, your perception of reality will be the determining factor. So if you are feeling negative, or if your environment is constantly bombarding you with negativity, this will massively impact your ability to create results in any domain, whether it be in business, school, finding a life partner, anything. If we are unable to be in a positive state of mind, then we are going to fall back onto our vices. We're going to fall in all areas. We're not going to be able to push through and be nearly as disciplined as we could be. And successful people that are high achievers know this. And they know this so much that they will go to great lengths to be able to protect that positive state of mind. Because positivity is everything. Positivity is everything when you are going through the drudgery of going through the motions, the monotonous tasks, the emotionally difficult tasks of becoming who you came here to be, becoming more successful, becoming more disciplined, more focused, creating some results, whatever it is. Because life is to become successful in life, it's a very emotionally difficult endeavor. And if you have a negative perception of what's going on top of that, that's going to only add gasoline to the fire that you're trying to handle. So let's go through the list of really where are our sources of negativity and how can we extinguish them. So first and foremost is friends and family, especially people that you live with or people that you're in contact with every single day. Could be at your workplace. People, right? What are the kind of people that you are around right now? Are they positive about everything? Are they so positive that they're actually constantly helping you to reframe your perception such that it's even more positive? See, for me personally, I absolutely love being around those kind of people where their positivity, their positive outlook on life is something that's inspiring to me, someone that is already very positive and already has a very high outlook on life. If someone can top that, if I'm not the most positive person in the room, that's the room I want to be in. Because the more positivity, the better. Perhaps you're in your home environment, right, where your parents are negative or your siblings are negative. This is not good. And this is why, of course, moving out when you can helps, creating boundaries as much as you can in any which way, such that even if the boundary is going to school to spend to study, or going to a library, or going out all the time, if your home is chaotic. And then, as well, there's in your family life where in those moments where when you do come home, and these people are negative around you, how are you going to manage that? Are you going to name it and call it? Are you going to confront them? Are you going to be willing to create that conflict to come to a solution? Because a conflict avoided is a conflict multiplied. If we do not have the courage to create that conflict, to set that boundary with the people around us, then it's never going to get better, and it's only going to get more negative for us. And likewise, we're going to suffer with the lack of results that we will create out of this. Another very important place to check how positive or negative you're surrounding yourself with is, of course, all of your media consumption. And it may not even be directly obvious either. Of course, there's the obvious sources like watching YouTube channels where people are just hate watching them, participating in hate watching, leaving negative comments, all that stuff. That's terrible stuff. And then, of course, there's also just subtler forms of negativity where the YouTuber isn't necessarily doing explicitly negative things, but just their attitude, their demeanor, the way they talk is negative. Or even what the content that they make, the stuff that they make content on is just negative topics. Or another one, of course, is the news. The news is always pummeling you with negativity. That's why I not even stopped watching the news. I never started watching the news. That's why I actively started avoiding the news several years ago now. Because intuitively, it just felt wrong to be constantly programming your mind with such negativity. Way back in the day when there wasn't CNN and giving you news every single day, we weren't built to be programmed with that much negative information. We weren't built to be healthy while having that much of a negative information intake. And for you, it may also be a guilty pleasure to engage in negative behaviors, hate watching people, finding who next to go to create a crusade against, who next to hate, who next to criticize, who to go to war with, or even in your environment, you may be finding ways to hate even the people closest to you, where you start nitpicking things and you start telling people why they're this way or that way, why they're doing things wrong, and all that jazz. And really, that's all just going to boomerang back on you, because you pointing out all these things in a negative manner is just training your perception to look for more negative stuff. And then, of course, there's the self-talk that we have when it comes to cultivating a positive or negative mindset. Are you constantly filling yourself with negative self-talk? You got a little gremlin in your mind that's constantly putting you down or saying that you're less than, and here's why you're not going to make it, and here's why you're not going to be able to learn how to focus or be positive or get those grades, or why you're not good enough, or XYZ. A lot of this comes just from ourselves. And to combat that, you need to create routines where you intentionally generate positive thoughts, positive affirmations, reading positive content, positive self-talk followed with congruent actions such as working out and talking to yourself as if you talk to a loved one. Like, how would you want to talk to a loved one? Would you want to put them down and tell them why all the ways that they're not good enough? Or Do you want to lift them up and encourage them and like say like, you're doing great and I love you for it and I want you to keep going and I want you to see you keep growing. Look at how much momentum you have. Notice that momentum you have. Keep going. Be proud of that. You got this. Why don't we talk to ourselves like that more often? It seems like it's easier to uplift others, and we neglect even uplifting ourselves in our own mind. So there's there's our own mind, there's the media, and then there's the relationships around us. Now the media is the quickest and easiest one and done technique. Is just cut it all out, block it all out, easy fix. With the relationships, right, it's a little more difficult, especially if you're dependent on these people. If you're dependent on them, then you have to be a lot more creative with your boundary setting. And if you're not ready to be independent from them. And then there's the relationships that you're attached to. Perhaps you're in a relationship right now with a friend or a significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're not able to have that emotionally difficult conversation to say, hey, I don't like how you're talking to me, or I don't like how you come in the house and you're in this mood or whatever. Then that rubs off onto me. And it can be very subtle. And unless you're really tuned into your body, this can go overlooked for years. And then next thing you know, you've been subconsciously programming your mind with all this negative energy, aura, all this negative self-talk from the other person that's around you. Because remember, we are the top 5 people that we spend the most time around, as well as the top 5, as well as what we fill our mind with from the information. Top 5 people that we follow. We're going to embody what we surround ourselves with. And a lot of times it can be difficult to have that emotionally difficult conversation that could put the relationship at risk. And yeah, that is what's at stake anytime you want to set a new standard for any relationship in your life. If you want your relationship to be more positive, you have to be willing to throw it all away each time, fundamentally. Now, in practice, are you really always throwing it all away? No. But that's what it can feel like. And being able to have the courage to bring it up again and again, and if you don't have if your boundaries are constantly being crossed, then to actually have the courage to make that decision to cut it off. Because what's at stake here is your life, is your positivity, is your livelihood, just how you feel in every single moment. Especially at home. Because I know at work, for example, it can be extremely difficult to cut out negative people if our colleagues are negative and whatnot. It really depends on what kind of workplace you're in. But at home, that's where you should have the most control. Where your home is your sanctuary. And if someone's coming home and they're being negative, and they're finding new things to be negative about, new people to be mad at, new gossip magazine level this or that, start to take inventory of really how much is this person really adding to your life. Because if they're constantly bombarding you with negativity, and that negativity is taking you down like crabs in a bucket, is that relationship really worth it? And that's why I really titled this video, destroy negativity at all costs. Because what's on the line here is your life. There's no, oh yeah, I can put up with negativity. I'm a tough person, or I'm this or I'm that, What's a little negativity? Or I need to be practical. I need to be a realist because the real world isn't sunshine and butterflies. Well, the real world is that if you're having negativity constantly bombard you, that's going to be programmed into your brain. That's the real world consequence. And when it comes to your home, absolutely, you should be able to skew your household into whatever ideology, belief system, whatever way of seeing reality. You should be able to skew that into however you want when you're at home. You want to be able to design your life such that you feel most you at home. And the most you is positive, in a constantly positive state of mind. I want you to notice that. That's where your true self lies, in that positivity. So it's worth letting go of all these relationships that have a little bit of benefit, but that have a massive negativity around it. It's worth going without the news, not being informed by, watching all this triggering content that the news always gives you, making you feel negative. And it's worth investing tons of time to do your shadow work, such that you do not have to have this constant negative narrative, your gremlins feeding you all of these negative narratives. It's worth doing that trauma, ridding that trauma through techniques such as EMDR therapy and, used responsibly, psychedelics. But for most people, I just recommend EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So, to finish off, I want you to notice and make a little mind map, a bullet list, and write down all of your sources of, your top 5 people, and see how positive or negative they are. Look at the YouTube channels that you watch. Look at the Netflix shows that you feed yourself, that you feed your mind, whatever it is, what you watch the most. And I want you to start to introspect in, what do you say to yourself? And take a whole assessment. Rank all the people in your life, how positive or negative they are, and really assess, is it really worth keeping them around? And if it is, how can you set a boundary? And if they don't set the boundary, then is it still worth? If the boundary doesn't work, is it still worth keeping that person around? Or maybe you just got to keep them at an arm's length. And as well, with all the media that you consume, see hey, is this really worth the jeopardizing my mind? How positive or how negative is it? And yeah, when you write down what you say to yourself, is this what ask yourself, is this what I would say to a loved one? That should give you a lot of insight into just how good or bad your self-talk is. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. This practice routine has been a gong show for me. So much stimulation from these lights. Hopefully it looks good. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.